Now, Lieutenant Baird, begin with the last time we saw each other.
Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Gears of War Judgment Insane Difficulty video walkthrough. This is Section 7, Elliot's Mansion. We're going for the declassified missions and all the stars, and this is a pretty long level. So this is a handful of encounters broken up into checkpoints. The first few are quite manageable, the last one's a bit ridiculous. And it's one of those sequences where it looks a lot worse than it is, because at some points there's a lot of heavies everywhere, there's one-shotters, it gets hectic, then you take on 2 Berserkers. You know, on paper this sounds insane, but when you do it, it's really not that bad, because you've got a height advantage, you're on a nice balcony, there's a lot of different avenues, your team are a pretty good distraction, and a lot of the enemies are trying to kill the robots, so they're not even looking at you, so there's this nice mixture of survivability bonuses. And it's definitely good, as the team are doing their nice little conversation, which I thought this game was lacking in story quite a lot. I was hoping for a lot more from it, but then again, hoping from story in a Gears of War game is, you know, it's hoping for anything but football in a FIFA. It's just not there. But a couple of things I did miss on this sequence, when I've having played afterwards and found there's a secret room in this area that makes this area probably much easier. It's got a turret in it, it's got an onyx box, there's a lot of good things, but I didn't find it, and it involves touching a statue head. So you're not going to see me use that on this fight, but I know about it now, I just didn't know about it at the time, as we take on a bunch of lambent wretches, and I nearly died just then off the first one. So things to note in this room: there's Lancer in this room, there's ammo in this room, there's a boom shot in this room, so make sure you come back and grab it when shit hits the fan, because it's going to make it really useful. And if you save grenades, rockets, you know, boom shots, whatever you want to call them, for the Berserkers, it's probably going to make the Berserkers a lot quicker. I don't. I just have my assault rifle and a flamethrower, and the Berserkers take forever. The cool thing is, she's nowhere near as aggressive as she was on the old games, and she doesn't target you exclusively. And that's one of the best things this game has done. And you'll notice it in a lot of games. When you're taking on a group of enemies, they will drop everything to kill you. You know, they don't care you've got a team, they don't care that there's a hostile force attacking them and you at the same time. They will attack you exclusively. There was some hilarious moments on Halo 4 where the Covenant was fighting the alien things, and they'd both be fighting each other, and you'd show up and they'd both just pivot and stare at you, and suddenly they were brothers. It was hilarious. This game has much more fidelity where that is concerned, and I love it, because they will attack your team, they will not all go for you. It does enable you to flank. It must be a difficult thing to program in the AI, because you're essentially programming a flaw. You're programming, you know, a lack of attention for anything. So it's cool, but I like it. And it's not going to help you every time. There are certainly moments where things will target you more than your team. Like the Reavers seem to have an infatuation with whoever the hell you're playing as. And, you know, certain heavies will definitely try to... The Blood Mounts love you. The main reason for that is they usually kill your entire team and then come for you, because the Blood Mounts just tear through the bots. The bots just don't know how to handle them. But luckily enough, this is the point when I realised how to use this crossbow. I was shooting them in the ground, and you're supposed to make tripwires with them. And the tripwires are all preference. If you want them to kill everything, put them low. If you want them to kill the fat things, put them slightly higher so that the little things don't run past them. It's all preference. I only do them for suppression. I don't really have a plan with them. Every single time I die and respawn, I put them somewhere else. You know, I try and get creative. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. There's a lot of shit in this room, and a lot of good stuff too. I've got a talk bow and a markser, and I'm just going to do my best to make them count. I died once in this area, and it was on the first wave, so that should give you hope to get through this with no issue. Just behind me there, as I was crossing that opening, there was an onyx bag. There's some grenades up here. You know, you have every advantage on this encounter. That red button to my left, did you see it just then? That is the doorway that you can open up. I don't know how I didn't see it. Like, I didn't even go on that part of the map, which is weird, because I usually try and explore everything. Because the amount of times you'll find a strategy by doing something ridiculous is I couldn't count it on both hands and feet because it happens so frequently. You've got to just try and think out of the box. So these guys can be killed with a quick execution from your chainsaw, but I like to shoot them, so I'm going to go for headshots. That guy you just saw then is one of the grubs carrying a one-shot, and he's trying to make his way onto the balcony, but me and Cole won't let him, which is funny. And Cole just did the fancy flip over cover, which if anybody didn't know, on the old Gears it used to be like that, where every so often you'd see the AI doing that fancy flip, and what it turned out to be is when you watch other people climb over cover, every so often they'll do the flip animation, but on their screen, if it's your friend, he's not doing a flip, he's just doing a roll. It was just relative to what you were seeing. And then later on in Gears, I think they actually put that animation in, so every so often you would do that flip, which was kind of them, because they animated it. Why not give it the player? Oh, there goes the head. And wow, we've got a gang of them. Bloody 3 Musketeers. That's a bad grenade. Wow. But, did it catch him? No, I didn't think it worked. If anybody doesn't know, when you hold the torque bow, if you roll, it will fire the torque bow. It can do that. It's super useful. It doesn't always work, but it's nice when it does. So my turret is sleepy, so we need to go and wake him up. And that is far too much ink. Come on, guys. There doesn't need to be that much of a radius on a stupid poison grenade. So when I run out of my torque bow, I'm going to come back in this room and pick up the boom shot. I don't know how these guys got in here. But it's okay, because she's got it covered. With a mild case of extreme violence. But these sequences are really fun. I bet they're great on 4-player. It's just at the time when you're doing them on Insane, solo, with Declassified and everything, they can be nerve-wracking because you know there's a bunch of dudes and you know there's going to be a massive force coming down on you. But doing this with friends, and it's probably even better. It's probably a joy. You're going to die a few times because friends get sloppy. That's just how it works. You get sloppy when you play with friends because you get cocky. There's a chainsaw dude. He just got shotgunned by the turret. That turret is lethal. And this is it now. This is the final wave, I think. So the bot's going to move over to here. And what I do is I set up the sentinel just next to the bot to give him some cover. Because at any point, if the bot's going to die, it's going to be here. Because there's so many big things. And when I was playing on hardcore, I had a family reunion of boomers stood around that bot. There were so many of them. There was 7 or 8 of them. I've never seen so many boomers. It was a glorious sight, but at the same time, it was kind of intimidating because I didn't have anything explosive, and they were beating the bot up. But here are a bunch of guys, all rushing in. We've got a Serapede, which I didn't remember. That guy there's carrying something heavy, so I'm going to try and get him with the splash damage. That's a Rager. And here they come. Look at him! Talk about one-track mines straight for him. And the shotgun just defiles them. It's so good. And you'll notice, I'm not even paying attention to them anymore because I know that shotgun's going to kill them because it's so good. And look, nothing but dog food. Unbelievably powerful. So that is, I can't tell what that is. Is that a butcher? It's something fat, I'll tell you that. So a bit of ammo on the side. Always watch your flanks, you don't want to get flanked. The only time when there's any real threat is when it's tickers, man. Oh, that blows you up. Tickers, boomers. Look at these guys, they fix the turret. Turret just destroys. Love it. There's a chainsaw fight. There's a dead Theron. So they are butchers. 2 butchers and a machete. Wow, Serapede, very close. The Serapedes do not kill you nowhere near as quick as they do on Gears 3, so as intimidating and as bad as they are, they're not that bad, really. That guy is bad, though. You don't want him anywhere near you. Somebody's hungry. So, Serapede. Go on, Sonya, take it out. There's a torque bow on it. Torque bow's surprisingly effective on Serapedes. I didn't even realise. That's that terrifying moment when it decides to come for you. But luckily enough, it was dead. Put the turret back up and just stay on top of it. It's all about threat management. There's a Rager. If you can take his head... Look at the damage! Wow. so bad. They're so damaging them. I don't understand what they are or where they fit into the fiction. You know, they don't even look like any Locust I ever saw. And when they first turned up, it made me think, are they what the Sires became? Do they suddenly explain the Sires and how they were in a really interesting chapter in Gears 2 and then they were never mentioned again? I don't know. A couple more butchers though. The Marks is great for anything. It's got a lot of ammo, it does a lot of damage, and it's fun to use. It's literally become the battle rifle of Gears of War. And it does make me wish it was in the other ones. Which is funny, because when I saw these weapons, when I was hearing about them in, you know, the promos that they did for the game, they just didn't sound interesting at all. But it's only when I get back to playing that I realise Gears didn't have that much of a weapon selection. It had a lot of focused weapons that kept it simple, but a lot of the innovations in the more recent games came in the form of heavy weapons, and I never really liked the heavy weapons. I'm not a heavy weapon guy. But this is where shit gets interesting. 2 Berserkers, extremely susceptible to fire, but before the Berserkers there's going to be a ton of dudes with flamethrowers so that you can use their weapon against them. So that's a Lancer Locust, get rid of him. He's evasive, I'll give him that, and he's taking a pounding too. But the Berserkers, if you set them on fire, they are then susceptible while they're all crispy to take damage from anything. If you have an explosive, you will kill them much quicker than you will with bullets, but everything works. As soon as your shots stop registering, you have to set them on fire again. I'm not entirely sure how much damage the fire itself does, but I wouldn't rely on just spraying them with the fire. I don't think it's as effective as it is moderating it and then dealing damage. The Berserker never hit me, so I don't know if they're a one-hit kill, but don't mess with them, you know, don't play silly buggers, just... Because at this point, the checkpoint is before all of this happened, so that's a good, what, 8 minutes of fighting you're going to have to do again, something along those lines. It's a long time, and that's what makes this nerve-wracking, the fact that the checkpoint is far back than it should be, you know, it's... So here are the Berserkers. She hasn't changed much. Like, you see the blood when I'm hitting her there, that means she's vulnerable, that means I'm dealing damage. If it doesn't do blood and it does sparks, that means she's shielding it. So just douse them with some fire. As soon as they go black, start shooting them. And your team can be useful here, because they're a distraction, they're going to deal damage, but for the most, it's down to you. They're never going to kill them. You know, you'll be here all week if you let your team do this. Because, I mean, look at Cole, dude. What are you doing? Just chilling out next to the sofa. And I'm thinking now, if those grubs that had the one-shot left the one-shot behind, which I don't think they will have, because this game has a tendency of robbing you of enemy weapon drops. But if it did, set her on fire and one-shot her, would it one-shot her? That is the question. It'd definitely sting, and she'd get it between the eyes, because headshotting Berserkers is relatively simple, because they stand still before they charge. But this is 5 minutes of me shooting these things. Luxury right now is there's no other grubs. In a couple minutes there's going to be one with a lancer that somehow got away and we didn't kill him. And he's going to be lancing us from a distance, and it gets a little tense for a few seconds, but it's nothing you can't handle. Like, if they threw enemies at you now, while the Berserkers were here, I can imagine this being a bit more interesting. But the AI of the Berserker, she's attacking everyone. On the other Gears, she attacked you. She did not care for anything but you. I don't know what that blue means either. For some reason, he's just glowing blue. And my first thought was, maybe you'd use one of those health grenades, but they're a radius, and I didn't see any of them. So I don't really know. Strange. Blue. Something. But there's the other one, just chilling out. I don't think she's quite figured out how to handle stairs. She's kind of like a puppy. A big, giant, scabby puppy that we're shooting profusely with guns. One of my main criticisms with this game is the lack of boss fights, because as much as the Berserkers counted as boss fights on the first game, they don't count as bosses anymore. They just don't. They're not enough. They're an enemy now. They're not a boss. There's one boss fight on this game. One boss. And I really dislike that. I think every section should have had a boss. That's the guy with the Lancer. How terrifying is this? Do you stay and get punched by the Berserker, or do you get shot as you move out of cover? That was extremely tense moments right there. But just situational awareness, try and avoid that, and you should be okay. But yeah, one boss fight, and it's a bad one too, because it's cheap. Like, at this point, you'd think in the Gears universe that people can fly have all the creative, flexibility they could ever want to just do stupid stuff. Give me a Berserker riding a custom Reaver. Give me anything. Give me a Corpser that's stronger than all the other Corpsers, because when it grew up it was beaten by its father and it lived in the wilderness. It's only got 2 claws. Every other one's a stub that it's had some kind of machinery welded to. It's not difficult. You could give me a single wretch, a single douchebag armoured bastard of a wretch that runs around with, I don't know, with double, what are they called? Double Gorgon pistols. Like a faster version of the armoured Cantus. Get a name too. Because what the hell is that blue? I didn't really notice it when I was playing, but I'm definitely noticing it now. It's really bright. It's a sky blue. I didn't realise the Berserkers had such a sentimental side. Although they are women. Which is really strange. Because if these are women and the other ones are men, like, how does that even work? Because she doesn't look like the kind that would cuddle. That right there was a tag as well. Tagged her with a grenade. Look at the damage it did. I know she was probably very weak thanks to being shot for 7 hours, but they finally both die. That is the end of the mission. You've got your 3 stars, you're somehow alive. Now all you need to do is to get to that door and cash it in. So check the arena to pick up as many weapons as you want. You will carry them into the next level. If that's a good thing, I couldn't tell you because I can't remember what it is. No, the next level's Call. It's not a good idea at all. Thanks for watching. You take care now.